Hello, Grey Couch family. This is Stanley and
Tito.
And welcome to another episode on the Grey Couch. We're excited that you're here. And this week we are really continuing our talk about marital dynamics. Last week we kind of explored what type or types of marriages there are and which one you are in or think you are in. If you didn't catch that, you want to check that out from last week's episode. So this week, what exactly are we exploring?
Today we're exploring the role of creativity in solving your problems that allow you, to work in a more engaged fashion. And I think I want to talk also about the question of environment, and sometimes the environment dictates the unique types of stressors that people experience in a marriage. And because of that, it then behooves us to find creative solutions to those problems if we're the ones most bothered by it, right? Because people have different levels of bother.
And not expect your partner to be the one trying to solve the problem, especially when you've presumed it to be their problem.
Okay, so there's a story.
There's always a story, right?
I'm telling you, and this one, is just such, a funny story. And it's that in the house that we live in, or the town that we live in right now, the water is really hard, and so it kind of impacts when you run the dishwasher. So sometimes we wash by hand, and Stanley kind of helps with that or does that. That's one of the chores. Remember last week we talked about chores dynamic.
Again, let's click out to see what that's.
So, but then if you know anything in America, you have this yellow Scott sponges, right? Foam on one side and then green on the other side that you use to scrub. But the thing with those sponges is that if you use them and you don't, squeeze them out and dry them properly, they start to smell. Like when I say smell, it's like and so I'll come in and I'll be like, I was smelling, but he didn't even realize that something was smelling. And it took me a while to say, what's always smelling in this kitchen? And then one day, I don't know what I was doing, and I put that thing near my nose. I was like, oh my God. And then I went to read up about it. Mistake, because I read that smell was due to germs just proliferating in the sponge. I was like,
game over, germs.
Like, no. Like, no. So I said, please squeeze out the sponge. When you use it, squeeze out, squeeze out, squeeze out. I said this for I'm telling you, it was a long time.
I was like, squeeze out. Okay,
yeah. It was a while. And then one day I was like, this thing is not working, right? Like the squeezing out of the sponge. Because if I come back and I have to squeeze it out, imagine that my own hands, start to smell. I have to kind of put the sponge in the microwave to kind of, I guess, kill off the germs. So one day I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So then I started looking for what's happening? Because in Nigeria we had these sponges have holes in them. They're like plastic. And one thing about that, because of the holes, right, all the water runs through nothing. You don't have these issues. So I'm thinking, can I find this thing on, Amazon? It turns out that I could, right? So I was able to buy a pack of the mini ones, I would say. It's nothing compared to the size that we have in Nigeria for $9.99, right? And to me at that point, I was like, $9.99 as a solution to this problem, I'll take it. Because after that, not a day has anybody ever said the kitchen is smelling or whatever. Like that problem went away in that sense.
And I will give you practical description of what these sponges are, because I see them as evidence. Exhibit A, Exhibit B for your consumption.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, this is what was causing problem in the marriage.
Yeah.
As small as it is,
Yeah. And so I guess, if you're Nigerian, you're like, did this person say they spent, almost whatever amount for the sponges that are hawked on the street? But at that time, I cannot wait for someone to say, go to Nigeria, buy me a sponge. we needed a solution really fast, right? So you kind of work within your environment. I'm like, it's okay. I mean, let's just have something that we're able to use. It turns out that even when the children go to Nigeria, they're like, this is the sponge you have at home. I'm like, no, this sponge, I grew up on this sponge, right? Like, it's not such a novelty in that sense. But I mean, that was it, right? I'm telling you, this thing was over, what, 2-3 years of just going round and round on this thing. And it's a question of, can you not smell it, rinse, do this, do that. But after a while, it's like, you know what, this is really my problem. That was just the truth of the matter. It was really my problem. I was the one bothered by the smell, bothered by the invisible germs or whatever, right? So again, I had to just sit down and say, how can I solve this problem? And I want to believe that it was just, the Holy Spirit that reminded me that we had something that we used to use back home that was better than good, right? Mm-hmm. In that sense. Yeah. Aside from the sponge, another story, related to just, again, how things flow in the house is, this is totally a first world problem, but hear us out. So, you can see us with our glasses, right? Somebody here has like how many pairs of glasses?
I will not answer that question on camera. No. My lips are sealed.
So, I mean, you work for a company where you can get as many, pairs of glasses as you want, right? In that sense, the first one is totally almost free. So somebody has accumulated, quite a pair of wonderful glasses over the years, and then they get all dressed up and decide at the very last minute that they will, this doesn't look so great on me, I'm going to change it. So they change it and they leave it, right by the foyer entering the living room. And it's like, if you're going to keep changing your glasses, you need to do something about this. Like, you can't just leave glasses lying about. But hey, I guess in his mind is like,
I'm thinking
I have it where I need it.
I'm thinking accessibility, speed of application,
I know, as
practical,
I'm leaving the door,
practical engineering terms.
Well, that's also part of the arrangement, because there's a huge mirror where a person can, vanity, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, making them
vainly look at themselves as they're leaving the house and say, you know what, no, I should change my glasses. Like, is it the transparent one? Is it the blue one? Is it the black one? Is it the, whatever color? So after months of looking at this thing every week, I was like, as opposed to saying, go keep your glasses upstairs or whatever, like, I'm just going to create a little cubicle here where you can toss everything where you want to, that would at least flow in with the design of the place or the decor around the place. And I just used some container that was used to send us a gift. I just put it there, and it's segues in really nicely. And yeah,
I would say that I'm not the only one that uses it. Even her children use it now.
They use it because they see it now.
I'm just saying, but this was a solution, a creative solution for the whole family.
I'm telling you, for the whole family.
And I'll take the credit for being the source of inspiration. If I didn't inspire her creative venture.
I love it. The source of inspiration as opposed to the source of irritation, right?
Yes.
But again, is the mindset or the frame with which you look at these things. Because again, that's why we said these small issues. Because some other person, this would be the last thing that could ever bother them in their minds, right? And so the question then becomes, why does it bother me? I don't know, but since it bothers me, I have to be the one to find a solution to it. God help us, right? In that sense.
So what's the big idea here? I think the first one is find creative solutions to the problem that bothers you. A capital U on that, especially if it's not a life-threatening one, And I think the second big idea here is we want to try and move away from that mindset of there has to be only one way, of solving a problem, especially if that one way is dependent on your partner changing their behavior. Or a behavior, yeah. Remembering that to change a person's behavior, if and when they are not motivated to do that, is a complete waste of time.
Not impossible.
Except for God's intervention. I was oblivious to the smell, I'll be honest with you, in this case in point, and I couldn't understand what she was talking about. And even when I kept on squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, I'm like, there's still a smell, but.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess the squeeze is now you don't squeeze, but the water goes away because of the holes in the sponge. So the idea is here. I mean, our question to you is: do you have any presumably mundane issue that has become larger than life? Because that's what this is. It will become larger than life. Then it's a question of you don't care about me, you don't care about the house smelling, you don't care about just a little thing, right? Just squeezing and dropping. But again, if that person is not within their sphere of consciousness, you're kind of wasting time in that regard, right? Just going round and round and round in a loop.
And it's the little irritants that
add up.
The worst.
They add up.
Because you can't really put your finger on it, but you're just angry all the time, you're irritated, you're upset.
And then, think about it from also like I don't want to say culture, but it's like the person is doing work, right? They are doing the dishes. If it's the dishes that you want, it's been done, right? But now this is post dish. This is post dish loop, closing up the loop.
Yeah.
And in the person's mind is like, what else do you want, right? That's literally what the person is thinking. Like, hey, I'm doing all the dishes and you're still talking about a sponge that I don't even know that is smelling. And so, so these are the things. Like, this story could be, unique to us or not. But the idea is all these little things that tend to add up. Yep.
And morph into thoughts and words about the other person's character.
Right? It's like, you don't care about the house, you don't care about me, or you're just like, what's the word? You're just so not thoughtful, right? In that sense.
And I think it's those thoughts and words about that person's character that are no in the realm of conflict resolution, because they don't help.
Yep.
More than that, they actually just end up hurting the other person,
Yeah. So, I mean, that was our spongy tale.
A spongy tale, no pun intended. And that's what we have for you for this week. Next week we have a great couple on the couch, the Simons. Make sure you tune in. You are going to love them. They're going to be laughing and learning from their struggles and their successes
as people in the early years, right? In that sense. That's it. Think about it. Like, what is something that you could find a creative way to solving? And let us know, right? Hopefully it's not as smelly as our sponge tail.
Okay, you have to go there with the smell, But from our family to yours, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.